This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
When we look at this, we're talking about the David case, and we're talking about where this is all going as of right now. And as I've said before, it should be noted, we're recording this on Friday the 26th of 2025 in September. He has not been arrested. He has not been charged. He is innocent until proven guilty. We are talking about a lot of this allegedly, hypothetically, what if, as a lot of evidence that we're seeing on the outside seems to point in a specific direction, but we'll let the authorities ultimately come up with that. Right now, it's just a lot of speculation. Unhealthy certainly attracts unhealthy. And I think we can all recognize that in our own lives when we've been in difficult situations or had a dark time or a moment. Sometimes you do. You lean into darker things. And that could be darker music that relates to how you're feeling. It could be, writing. It could be movies. It could be, Lifetime. But sometimes you get stuck in those places and you continue to absorb it. And then that perpetuates a cycle, which is a scary thing about social media and TikTok, which is where David got his fame. If you're into that sort of content, or if you're just visiting because it's a dark moment and this sort of speaks to you cathartically at that moment in time. And I'm not judging. I'm sure you could find lyrics in this music. I'm sure almost anybody could probably find some lyrics in this music and go, okay, I could relate to that in some way, shape, or form at some point in my life. Not necessarily putting bodies in trunks, but when you have that, you get sucked in sometimes too, especially when it feeds you over and over and over. Oh, you like more of this? You want some more dark? Is this going to feed that itch? And you just get digging deeper and deeper and deeper. That's my long preface and setup to the question I have for Stacey. When you were talking earlier about The Weeknd, and you love his music, but you've realized kind of how dark some of it can be. And we're not like, oh, he's the devil, he's satanic, or anything like that. But just it's a darker content. Were you more drawn to that at a time in your life where you were more in an unhappier place versus when you were in a happier place? Are you drawn to it now? Are you drawn to it the same way and want to listen to it the same when you were then?
It's interesting that you bring that up, and forgive me, I muted myself because they were mowing the lawn quite loudly outside my window.
Sorry, I'm in a campground, Stacey, so you're good.
Okay, good. Fireworks going off, all kinds
Only
of stuff.
You can prevent forest fires, Robin.
Yeah, but not to dwell on my personal situation, but I've listened to a few of his songs recently. Just if you're in a melancholy mood, going through a few things, and then it's in such a key that I felt like I had to get out of it. And it's interesting, Robin, that you brought up Abracadabra, because I immediately go to that song. Mm-hmm. I have gone to that song many, many times just because of its beat, its feel, it just slams, it just gets in there and hits your soul. And, being in radio for 20 plus years, music is a huge part of my life. It's interwoven through everything that I do. So if I'm listening to a song, or if I send you a song and say, this reminds me of this, it means I've really thought about it. It's not like, oh, a great beat, I'm sending it to you. No, I have thought about this. Music, when I guess a couple months into my life, I was gravitating toward music. Like my mom said that I would perk up and, just immediately stop crying if she turned music on. So it's something that's ingrained in me. So listening to The Weeknd kind of brought me down.
Yeah. I'm guessing it brought you down, but it also probably felt somewhat cathartic at the same time. It's like junk food. I mean, not saying his music is junk food, but you're consuming it in a way that's not helping. It's like, this feels good. It's scratching that itch in the moment, but it's not helping the whole problem. It's not something that's going to be long-term helpful. And I guess my direction I'm going with that, because I think we all do that. It doesn't hit you the same when you're not in that place.
But you have to come out of it. You can't sit and listen to sad songs all day, have that good cry, be pissed,
but
crumple up the Kleenex and then be done and go find something that's going to pull you back out.
And there's always been dark music. This is not the first time. And there's been, death metal and this or that. And you can think of remember the kids in high school that were into that. And it's like they dressed dark. There's always been dark music. It's not like this is new or anything like that. But I'm just speaking all across the board if you just consume it, especially young minds. If you're 12, 13, 14, 15, and you're getting into the music and understanding yourself, and you find yourself drawn into this because you may like the music. I listened to some of his stuff. I didn't know much of David, but I listened to it. I like R&B. I'm like, oh, I kind of like the music. I like the beat. I don't really relate to his lyrics or anything like that, but if I was around that age, I probably would have found it enjoyable in terms of the overall sound. But you get into that, and then at a younger age, you have no reps in life. You don't know how to get out of that. And you don't necessarily know that there's another side to anything either, if that's pretty much the only path that you've seen is this sort of art being put in front of you, and you basically are being programmed to consume it and like it more and more by the TikTok gods of the world that just keep feeding it to you. You don't get the option necessarily. We're back on the radio. You listen to what we decided you want to listen to.
That was the algorithm.
That was us going
director.
up, down, up, down. It wasn't just like, let's be Depress FM. But, looking back, maybe there should have been a Depress FM.
I was just going to say,
I think,
Delilah was kind of, not to slam Delilah, but it was, if you were going through heartbreak,
yes,
you would tune in Delilah because it's all love songs, and you probably end up crying, know, in the second hour, and like, okay, I got to get away from this shit.
I guess it's the psyche that I'm trying to go at with all of this, that whole point, very long-winded, but I think we had to walk through those steps to get there. These kids that are consuming it this way, we all had dark stuff, yes, but we didn't have it punched at us and programmed specifically for each individual brain and each individual's idiosyncrasies that we have today. The music's always been there, but we didn't have it coming at us 50 different ways, and it's only that because it knows we're going to listen to that longer. That's very different than any way any other generation has ever been brought up or fed information at very formative ages.
Well, and the big reason for that gets fed like that too is because you have TikTok. And
it's not my point. Yeah.
Right. Because so when we were growing up, we had all these different segments throughout our day where, all right, I can sit at home and I can listen to the radio of the algorithm of Tony, what he's going to put on the radio. But at some point I got to go. I got to go to work. I got to go to school. I got to go mow lawns. I got to chop wood. I got to cut grass, all these types of things. So it puts us all in these different things. But what's going on a lot right now is, especially with this generation where the self-radicalization and the assassination culture is coming about, is because when people are feeling they have no purpose and there's no economic possibility for the future, and all these types of things are happening with a sector of that younger generation, it's easier than kept getting sucked into this algorithm of the self-radicalization, the echo chambers, which makes music like this even. It's not, well, I don't want to say music like this because there's elements, and there's art here, but when you're actually consuming it as part of who you are, we are. So let's go back to the human behavior side.
Yeah.
100%. We are what we consume, both as nutrition as well as information. And if you are consuming nothing but these negative, dark thoughts, it is what's going to become who you are, is negative, dark thoughts. It's feeding that beast inside and letting it bloom instead of having to go all over the place. And when you're thinking about, Stacey, talking about songs you start off the day with, since, as you all know, I'm the eternal optimist, glass half full guy. I start out with, I'm an AC/DC Thunderstruck guy, man. I am up and going.
Yes.
And if I want some good poetry in life, I'm Meatloaf. Paradise by the Dashboard Light, man. There we go.
Friday at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
That's what we used to play.
I need to share this. One of my best friend, we were driving in a car, and the car, it was a BMW, and it was just a gorgeous car. It was rented. And we're like, the stereo system is incredible. What should we play? And he suggested Thunderstruck. And I swear to God, I think I'm deaf, a little bit deaf because of that 4-minute experience. It was so loud, and the entire car just like blew up from the sound. It was so fabulous. That song just gets you going. I just had to share that.
And the story behind how it was made and how it came to be, I just love too. So it's just one of those things that if you want to get pumped up, if you're having a bad day, put that on for a while. And also, it's funny. I got songs that represent my kids as well from movies that we watched together growing up. So I'll throw those on at a certain point throughout the day. And so even before coming on and talking with you all, I make sure we, good pump up music is, boy, you never know what we're going to talk about when we get on these things together, do we?
You don't. You don't. Well, I want to talk more about the music a little bit in terms of, again, he's never been charged with anything as of this moment. He maintains his innocence.
I got the lines too.
All of that, everything's alleged, okay? So right now we're talking hypothetically about what could be going on here. And so hypothetically, let's say you're someone like D4vd and you have music that is fairly dark. It speaks to a certain mindset. It speaks to certain sects of the population who, are not in a great place. Certainly, it's not rocket science here to say that Celeste was not in a great place mentally if she's running away multiple times. Things aren't hunky-dory in her mind. I'm not saying they weren't hunky-dory at home. I have no idea what her home environment was like. But in her brain, that's what we're talking about. She wasn't in a good place. And you have the music that is being created by someone like this that would then attract that type of person to you. And if you're bringing in young girls that are feeling this way, look, I'm not saying the music is designed to be predatory, but it could be weaponized to be predatory if that's what your goal was with a child, because that kid's going to listen to that and go, oh, he gets me, he relates to me. And if you are predatory, you would act on that. If you're not, you'd be like, I'm glad my music speaks to you. Let me sign the autograph. Thanks for coming. It's going to be a brighter day, but I'm glad I can help you through it. If you're going the other direction, and I'm not saying he did, we don't know, but they are searching his drain pipes right now for bodily fluids, that it could be very easily weaponized.
Yeah, it's interesting you put it that way too, and it could be weaponized. Now I keep going back to his age though, but again, he's been doing it since he's been 15. He's 20 years old now.
Not even consciously weaponizing it, I think, especially when you're that young and you're going into when you're that young.
And I'll say not yet. So the way these things typically happen, when bad things eventually happen, when someone's going down that dark triad of life, it's not just 0 to 100. So I don't think, someone at this age is intentionally weaponizing things or even thinking in that way. But what happens is if you see the effect that things are, the cause and effect of all your actions, the music you're putting out, and you're getting attracted, if you're attracting certain people to it and they're worshiping you in certain ways, you're now going to start seeing the cause and effect for what you're doing. And so at a certain point, as your life arc is continuing, as in the case with Diddy, potentially, is that it's like, wow, if I do this, this, and this, and this is the cause and effect. So it becomes more of a conscious thought process. I don't think someone at the age of 20 has much of a conscious thought process going. They're very reactive emotionally to the world around them and the stimulus coming in. Even if he's been doing it for 5 years already, it still doesn't matter. The brain is not working right yet.
Yeah. I mean, I feel, again, all pure speculation. If this is him and if this was a predatory relationship, I feel like he was aging into being a predator and probably not even realizing he was becoming one, possibly. Right. I don't know. I mean, if it's taking people around him, and I don't know, to say, hey, dude, what the hell are you doing with this kid? And it's hitting like, what do you mean? Because just a year or two earlier, he was a kid too. Yeah. That would hit some, I don't know. I mean, it in no way am I excusing any of that. It is different though than if he was 40 and preying on this to a certain extent. He is 20. She was 15. It doesn't make this right or okay, but it is a different mindset, and the psychology is a bit different, and that needs to be taken into account when trying to understand the case. Doesn't make it right, wrong, doesn't do it, just trying to understand the psychology of what the hell is going on.
And especially at that age, the things we're doing at that age and throughout our lives, really, we're medicating trauma.
Yes.
And so, when you're doing a certain thing and you see the output someone's having or the behaviors they're having, the first thing I'm doing as a behavior guy is like, I'm all right, what caused that person to say this is a proper medication? I'm self-medicating for something that happened in my life. And so that's why I always go through those life arcs. So as soon as I started taking a look at this in the last couple of days, Tony and Stacy and Todd, and then, the first thing I did is I was like, tell me about his family. I mean, I could actually go through my search terms, as soon as I found out of this. The first thing I do is I said, tell me about his background, his family, and where he grew up, all those things, so I can start identifying what would cause someone to create this kind of music or express himself in this way, or do matching tattoos, hypothetically, if that was it, so I'm always looking at, here's who we are today, what back here caused that behavior, because if it seems to be an unhealthy behavior towards your environment around you or how you're expressing yourself, typically unhealthy behavior is a medication that we've created for ourselves for something that happened earlier in life. And so, again, unless there's a seriously broken brain, Brian Koberger, seriously broken brain, there's also medication in there as well. But this is when typically we're seeing otherwise healthy people doing really unhealthy things. It's because it's a medication of some sort that we're choosing from the environment around us to satiate and allow us to feel safe, heard, expressed, seen. And so, yeah.
And when you're saying we should clarify, you're not saying like prescription, you're just saying the whatever we're consuming, what we're consuming.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And expressing. Yeah.
Yes.
So definitely not on the medication side, all those, that's why some people get into drugs and alcohol.
Sure. I mean, it could be that. Yeah. Yeah. It's whatever we're medicating ourselves with, whatever that may possibly be.
Well, for some people it's music. For some people it's art. It's all kinds of different things.
100%.
I know a lot of people who medicate with food.
Yep.
So it's, whatever your drug of choice is, for some it's more destructive to others.
And that's why, again, I'm not a licensed clinician on this, but that's why most clinicians and psychotherapists and all these things, what they'll do is they will not put a Band-Aid on, hey, trying to get you to stop drinking. They'll actually, let's go back in history to see what actually are you medicating, because if we can deal with the medication aspect of what you're trying to solve by drinking, you'll stop wanting to drink. Then we'll deal with the addiction side of it as well, because all the GABA and everything's going on in the brain, or whatever it is, any unhealthy behavior, you always want to go back to the root cause of what caused it. And so in cases like this, you want to, like with Celeste, what was going on, because I tried researching this too with her, because I did a deep dive on him and I did a deep dive on her the best that we could through what's available out there. Is like, what would inspire someone to want to run away from home 3 or 4 times? What's going on in that family, what's going on in that background. There's not a lot of data on that, but I did see those overlays between the two of them. There's a lot of similarities I found between the two of them, potentially, and potentially with a lot of people. And so that would be a potential magnet for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So
trauma bonding, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Trauma bonding to each other.
Yeah. Very much so. I like to medicate on Rick Astley. That's what I prefer to do. I like to get into. Come on, everybody. It's Friday.
Oh, my God.
It's Friday, and all the hits, 102.8 Mix FM. This is Rick Astley. Never gonna give you up. Nothing to the
Oh, my God. He hit the post. You hear that, Todd? He totally nailed it.
Sing it again.
Full commitment's what I'm thinking of. You won't get this from any other guy. I just want to tell you how I'm feeling. Gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. There we go.
Now,
Robin's like, I'm giving up my family vacation time for this.
I may have actually, I don't know if it's true, but I may have seen Robin dancing a little bit. Is that true, Robin?
I'm doing true crime with Rick Astley.
The world needs more Rick.
I gotta tell you though, Tony, out of all the impressions I've heard you do of singing, that was probably the best we've heard all week.
Thank you. You should hear the house when I'm in the shower. It's like just Rickroll every morning. It's like shower goes on and like
Yeah. He probably has a disco ball that drops down and the lights start flashing in there when he's in the shower. So,
if we didn't
are we judging?
If we didn't bring some smiles to these tragedies, all we do is cry all day.
Exactly.
Hey, we got to find the happy somewhere. And if it's here and we make asses of ourselves at that's fine. That's what we do here. So
exactly.
So next Stacey will be doing abracadabra is what we're saying?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Monday.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.